Oh, I have a torch already to burn the whole thing down. This car belongs to Josh. And Josh is one of the great customer service reps here at FCP Euro. And right now, we're gonna take advantage of a sale that we have going on, which is up to 25% off on all steering and suspension components. And we're gonna surprise our friend Josh with a complete suspension refresh. So to show you what we got going on, follow me into the shop and we'll show you exactly what we're gonna do to this little Volvo C30. Yeah, I don't think the sale is gonna be enough to bring this car back. So this side will give us a little bit of a better view of what we're working with. And the rest of the inside is just filled with fluid in the damper cell. Let's see what we have in the rear. That's what felt like a pogo stick when we were driving it around. It's not something that you should be able to do with any car really, with complete suspension. So that would be a lot of our noise while we're driving this wheel. Literally just pogoing, because the only dampening that's happening here is from the spring. So nothing left there. This used to live up there. And the whole shock, oh yeah, once we get behind this, you'll see the whole shock assembly is completely emptied itself out. So let's get this up in the air a little bit more, and then we'll go from there. So since we're gonna be doing the control arms, and we're gonna be doing the strut assembly, and we're gonna be doing the tie rods, we're just gonna pull the whole knuckle assembly off with either the control arm or the strut assembly, take it all out, and just start fitting everything back in. Maybe clean up some of this rubber.
Look, man, traction, you know, my foot slips. That pinch bolt was the one that I couldn't get apart when I did the wheel bearings a while ago. I coiled it, but it's covered in rubber, so I protected it with rubber.
Yeah, you sure did.
Yep.
More juice?
Yeah, you know, a little bit of this is gonna go a long way when we get some of this hardware out. No real reason. I'm not concerned. You're concerned. Well, that's always good. You see that?
That's no problem, mate.
Wow, that's really bad. This might be the most wasted ball joint I've ever seen. Like, so the ball joint is so wasted that it's got all the play in the world here. But if you look closely, it's actually completely solid inside the actual knuckle. Should got my purse. See? Just had to grab the purse. Now, some of these cars have headlight level sensors, but you gotta be mindful that's gonna be on top of the arm, but this baby doesn't have them, so we're not gonna worry about it. You got the rest? All right, you saw how I do it?
Me?
Yeah. I'm gonna take 5, I'll be in my dressing room, and no phone calls. So we've been soaking this tie rod assembly for quite a bit. This locking nut is pretty much become one with the outer end of the tie rod. We're gonna give it a shot with these nice Knipex pliers from G, but I don't think we're gonna be very successful here. Probably just end up cutting these off. That's not coming off. Have you met my friend? What's your name? Zap off the tie rod end. This, oh, of course this has a zip tie. Why would it have the correct clamp on it?
Easy for you, man. That's good.
Am I stronger than the zip tie? Yes, the answer is yes. So now comes the fun part of removing the inner tie rod. Usually these are hexed. Let me grab the new one to show you what I mean. So there's universal tools that you can use. They have different like C-clamps. We'll show you, we're gonna use them to install this one. You can use a really big wrench. Usually you have something to bite onto. On this style, whatever brand this may be, it's completely smooth. So something like these Knipex are gonna go a long way. Or there is what looks like a U-bolt with a little flat bracket that has basically this cut into it, just a bunch of teeth. And you can use those to bite onto these, put in a usually 3/8 drive ratchet, sometimes bigger, and break them free that way. But these should hopefully do the trick as long as they're not over tightened. Let's see. Oh yeah, man. You taking steroids this morning would be good.
You need spinach.
Yeah, I said spinach. What do you think I said? So now that we have our lower control arm out, we have the tie rod out, we have honestly all the room in the world. We're gonna tackle the lower part of the sway bar end link. We're gonna leave it attached to the top of the strut assembly. There's no sense in doing twice the work. We're replacing them. Having this off the car will allow us to clean up a lot of this grime, and also a great time if you need wheel bearings. You can see this one's not that old. This was one of the few things that Josh did do while he had the car under the knife recently, so saved us just a little bit of work. All right, let's get some tools. Let's get this end link out. 5 mil to counter hold, 15 mil to remove the old nut. And we can remove that nut. All right, now that that's situated, let's get a little bit more eye level. We'll do the pinch bolt, go from there. We have our wheel speed sensor. We're just gonna unplug this one. Came off no problem. We'll just pop it off the bracket over here, just like that, and that can hang out to the side. We've removed our 13 millimeter axle bolt. This is nice and free, brass punch, so you don't damage the end of the axle. There we go. We'll grab a bungee cord. We'll wrap that around the axle just to kind of keep it happy, and then we'll work on the dreaded pinch bolt. So all we did was tap off the carrier here. Oftentimes you need to use a spreader tool to spread them in the back and allow them to drop down easier. In this case, the hammer did the trick. We may need to do that when we reinstall everything, so if so, we'll show you how to do that as well.
Damn, dude, Volvos are that boring, huh?
3 13 millimeter bolts up top, pretty standard for Volvos, and sometimes they're nuts on most cars. They're usually a 13 or a 15. We're gonna zap those babies out. As we get those out, we're gonna reach underneath and grab the strut assembly as it's gonna be ready to come out. Obviously, like any new and old part, you always put them side by side if you can. Make sure you have the right side, not the right side, but the correct side. Right now I'm just joining the bearing and the strut mount plate together. This is what is going to allow your whole assembly to turn freely when you're turning your vehicle. We're going to place this baby down like so. So now the goal here is going to be to compress this far down enough where we can put our locking washer back on and our new locking nut. I'll grab a second set of hands to maybe get that nut started up top for me, and then we'll snug everything down. And I just need you to start the nut and washer, please.
There we go.
Thank you. Cool. One of my favorite tools. This is CTA 7466. Basically, everything you could want to assemble and disassemble strut assemblies. For the Bilstein, we're going to be using the counterhold 6mm 19. Nailed it. Torque spec for this is 45 Newton meters. It's not a whole lot. And then we're just going to go until it gets snugged. Perfect. There's our strut assembly ready to rock and roll. This is exactly how it's going to go back in the car. Obviously, you can turn the strut top and position it how you need it. So with that, let's grab our new 13mm bolts. We'll snug this up inside the wheel well, and then we'll get these 313 snugged up. 30 to 35 Newton meters will do for those of you playing along at home, and we'll go from there. You choose, people. Should I use this to torque it down, or should I use this to torque it down? Give you a second to drop that in the comments, and I'm gonna guess which ones you're gonna go with. Good choice. Could you do this while it's on the ground? Sure. Is it gonna make a difference for us right now? No, there's no load on it, nothing's hanging off of it, so this will be perfectly fine. Okay, let's get eye level with this thing again, get the knuckle back on, start assembling some stuff. Yeah, let's do it. Way to use a chisel to spread this far enough. The normal spreader tool that I had wasn't enough. Once we get it to bottom out, now we can take our new bolt. Okay. All the new hardware has some fresh thread locker on it, so we'll get this started by hand. I'm just gonna use the impact just to snug it up, not to tighten it down. And then once it's nice and close, we'll actually torque it down properly. 90 Newton meters with the 15. There we go. Now we're gonna work on getting the axle just fed back into our hub. So once we get this lined up, there we go. I'm gonna leave the axle bolt off for now. That's gonna give you room to flex everything around just a little bit once we get to the lower control arm. So I'm fighting the heck out of the sway bar. So I'm just gonna free it up completely so that the sway bar is free. And then I should be able to move it where I need it on the other side. And the hardware on our new lamp forder unit is the same as the one we took off. 15mm nut, 5mm hex counterhold, and also you can use a thin 17mm wrench if you're looking to do it that way as well. All right, sway bar end link is in. Just cleaning up the end of the steering rack here. And you know, depending on the cars you're working on, whenever you're doing tie rods, sometimes the subframe really is in your way. Something you can do is get in the car, turn the wheel so that the end of the rack comes out a little bit more if you can't get your tie rod end tool in there. Beautiful. This stick stuff's the best. So much easier to work with than the liquid. This is what I was talking about before. This is a universal tool. You've seen us use it before, but it has different attachments, sockets, sleeves, sizes. Feed this through the rod until it grabs. So then we're gonna put a 1/2-inch drive on there. We're gonna get our torque wrench and snug these up to about 100 Newton meters. There we go. Now we can feed our inner boot on. Something I highly recommend whenever you're doing tie rods. Put the inner clamp on first around your boot. And then I'm gonna position this in a way that's easier for me to access the end of this clamp. So I'm thinking this side here, so I don't have to fight the sway bar. It's gonna be the best. We're gonna go past that for now, just so we have some push onto the rack. Now we can put our outer clamp on. Beautiful. And the secret to never having your threads seize up on you, so you can always get in alignment. The alignment guys love you. Is some ceramic paste. and then hopefully some of it gets on the threads of that locking nut once we tighten everything up. And that'll also keep that from seizing up like it was on the old setup. All right, now we have this in. Again, this is just an eyeball alignment. We're gonna get it a little bit more eye level. We'll snug down that nut, and then we can go from there. For those of you playing along at home with us today, this is a 16 millimeter nut, 5 millimeter counterhold hex. Now we should be able to torque it down. There we go. This lock nut on the inside, we're just gonna snug it up. It's gonna get messed with when you go for an alignment, so no need to gorilla it down, but just nice and snug. That's all it needs. While I have you here, let's go ahead and plug in our ABS cable, our speed sensor cable. Don't forget about that. That looks good. Let's get a control arm in here so that we can then reattach our brakes and all that good stuff. Good. That looks so much better. These get torqued to 60 Newton meters plus an additional 90 degrees for those of you looking for that torque spec. We'll do an additional 90, quarter turn. 175 for the front 18. Insurance, people, insurance. Looking good. Control arm's on, tie rod's on, end link is on, axle's in. We just need to get the new axle bolts in. Strut assembly's on, so we are making progress. Then we're gonna button up the brakes, and we should be able to move on to the back. Volvo. It's 35 Newton meters, so not a lot. So there, let me do 90. So putting the brakes back on really gives us a full view of what this looks like, and the before and after is, I mean, stark. Not only are these Bilstein coilovers sexy to look at, but everything just looks better. I mean, we have no rubber and grease over everything. We have some fresh new coilovers, end links, control arms, tie rods, inner and outer, ball joint, axle bolt. I mean, yeah, the before and after here is crazy. I literally cannot wait to drive this thing when we're done. Well, once we align it, of course, because everything is gonna need an alignment. But then we should be able to go for a good test drive, and hopefully Josh will be very, very happy. Yeah, these are no longer rubber, they are just plastic, and they are not doing anything. So before we can even put a socket on there, I love my tools and respect my tools enough to clean whatever is going on in here first, so that we can even see if this still looks like a head of a bolt or not. Yeah, just get it out now before it starts falling on my head.
That's sick as hell.
Wow, that is nice, dude. And that's why we use a screw jack. Man, this tool is the best, dude. Holy crap. Okay, let's get rid of this junk for now. and continue on with taking off a couple more crusty parts. You hear that? Hello? What's that? 25% off on all steering and suspension? FCPro.com? All right, I need to head there now. 25% off, FCPro.com. Yeah, I told them. Now we're gonna try to tackle probably the hardest bolt to get to on this whole job, especially back here in the rear. This is the rear upper control arm. I only think one turn at a time.
Okay, Vin Diesel. I live my life a quarter turn at a time.
There is nothing left to these things. Before we assemble our new ones, we're going to continue dealing with that upper control arm. Then we'll work our way backwards. We'll show you how to assemble your new shock assembly, or that Bilstein sexiness we have over there, and hopefully start putting some new parts on the side. We have our new SPC upper control arm. To get started, these are just set to the same length as the factory arms. Once the car is all dialed in and Josh gets it aligned, they can mess with it and extend or bring in this arm as needed for whatever setup he wants to do with this. So we just left him with a factory setup. That'll get him back on the road and over to the alignment shop. So now we're just gonna work on feeding our arm in. All right. Now comes the time we've been waiting for. We got the grimy old shock body out. We have our new Bilstein unit in. And if you're curious on what actually goes on inside of these babies, be sure to click the video link in the description below, where me and a couple others on the team, including the handsome guy behind the camera, we actually went to Germany and we toured the Bilstein factories, and we saw exactly how these things get put together. So it's actually pretty cool. You learn a thing or two, and makes you appreciate what goes into these dampers a little bit more. So let's get this baby in, and then we'll continue buttoning up the rest. Next, we're gonna work on the spring arm and our new spring perch and coil spring. So let's get those all together. We're gonna set everything at ride height, and then we're gonna tighten down everything. We have a lot of 15mm bolts. The 4 for the 2 ends on the upper and lower control arm. All of those are 115 Newton meters. So this one we are just gonna snug up. Obviously we're not gonna leave it loose, but it's gonna get broken free again when the car gets aligned. So we don't need to crank it too crazy. Just keep it nice and tight. All right. I mean, at this point we have new front coilover, we have a new rear coilover, all the control arms, end links, hardware. Now we just have to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm gonna continue on blasting through this. We're gonna button it up, and then we'll take the car for another test drive, and I know it's gonna be better. I don't wanna say, let's see if it's better. I know it's gonna be better, but let's just see how good this sale has treated this car today. It is time, baby. Car is back together, wheels are on. We put this thing to the lowest settings. It's gonna have to settle a little bit, but it was already pretty hard to get it on the lift when we first brought it in. So we'll see what it sits like once it settles. But I'm excited to take this thing for a drive and see what a complete suspension refresh does to it. Perfect. Well, this is great. This means I can get the arms out. I mean, it's stiff. Wow. Oh yeah, that's gonna be good. All right, let's hit the road. Wow, just literally getting out of the parking lot, heading to the alignment shop. This car drives night and day difference. It went from being a sloppy 180,000 mile tired C30 to something that even without the alignment, I think I can confidently say I would rather drive than it was the way it was before. That's amazing. I mean, new suspension there's nothing, I don't think, better that you can do to your car. That's amazing. I can hit those potholes all day long, but you can't mess up these Type A's. Man, that's incredible. Same road, same car, same GoPro, new suspension, old suspension. You can't even compare. I mean, before this thing felt like an absolute death trap, and now, again, even needing the alignment, it's incredible what a difference all those new parts have made. And currently, right now, our sale is running up to 25% off all suspension and steering components. So be sure to check that out. And if you missed it, don't worry, we're running promotions all the time, and we're gonna need a couple more to get this car finished. So as always, thank you for watching. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments on what we did today, leave those in the comment section below. And as always, consider subscribing. We'll catch you on the next one.